Hi guys, welcome back to my channel once again. In this video I want to show you guys how to make a placket with a background color, with a different background color, and a piping or neck piping with a different background color. Here is the measurement we are going to be working with. So the shirt length of this center top or of the top is 40 inch. The sleeve is 25, hips is 44, belly 44, chest 42, back 17, neck 17, and muzzle is 14. So now the shirt length, our shirt length here is 40 inches. So you are going to add 6 inch for cutting and sewing allowance. So remember, don't forget this. We are going to add 6 inch to 40 inch for cutting and sewing allowance. So now for the wideness of material that we are going to use to do the cutting, all you need to do is very simple. You take your hip. Our hip here is 44, so you are going to divide this 44 by 2. Then you will now add 2 inch to the result again. For example, 44 divided by 2, that is 22. Then we are going to add 2 inches for sewing allowance. That is 1 inch for one side and 1 inch for the other side. So in total it makes it to be 2 inch. Hope you are getting what I'm saying. Please take note of this. 44 divided by 2, that is 22. Then plus 2, then that will be the total wideness of the material you are going to use to do the cutting. And for the length, you are going to add 6 inch to 40 inch, which is the length of our senator top. So that 6 inch is for cutting and folding allowance. So now let me show you what I'm talking about. This is the material that I'm going to use. So the wideness of the material here is 25. The wideness of material that I'm using is 25. It's supposed to be 24, but there's no problem. As long as it's not less than 24, it is okay. As long as it's not less than 24, it is okay. And make sure that the length of it, the length of your senator top or the material that you are going to use to do the cutting should not be less than 46. Should not be less than 46, because the length of this shirt here is 40. Then you add 6 inch for sewing and cutting allowance. So guys, here is the 46. Should not be less than 46. Here is the 46 that I'm talking about. So now the next thing we are going to do now, this material here is of 2. We have the front panel and the back panel. So the first thing I'm going to do is to cut the front panel. So to do that, I'm going to fold this. I'm going to fold over this material like this. Fold it over. Fold it over with the wrong side facing you. All your drawings are going to be on the wrong side and not on the right side of the fabrics. So now the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark my neckline. So the first thing I'm going to do is my neckline. So you don't need to take any measurement for neckline. All you need is just a straight line, and that will be your first line. So you draw the line. Make sure the line is very, very thick and clean. So the next thing we are going to do now is our neckline. So the next line that I'm going to draw here is our neckline, and my neckline is 2 inch. My neckline is 2 inch. That 2 inch is the same thing as my slant. There is no difference between neckline and the slant of a shirt. So my slant is 2 inch. We can make use of 2.5, but it will make the neck of the slant of the shirt to be too high. So you can use 2 inch for the slant or 2.5. They are very okay. So I'm using 2.2 inch. So I'm going to draw it. So the next thing I'm going to do now is the neck. So the neck of this client is 17. And for you to do the neck calculation is very simple. You are going to divide 17 by 6 minus 0.6. That is for you to get the wideness from here to here, for you to get the width of the neck from here to here, from here to here. So what I have here is 2.2 on my calculator. So I'm going to measure 2.2 here. 2.2 is around here. 1, 2. This is 2.2. So I'm going to measure 2.2 on my neck. Now to get the length, that is from here downward, to get the length of my neck, please take note, you are going to do the same thing. This 2.2 plus 0.6, the 2.2, which is the wideness of the neck, you are going to add 0.6, and that will give you the length. In this case, the length of this neck is 2.8 inch. So you are going to start counting from the 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is half. 6, 7, 8. So this is my 8. So I'm going to draw it. So don't forget the neckline calculation. Once you divide the neck by 6, then you will now subtract 0.6 from the result. Whatever you have, that is the width of the neck. And for you to get the length, so the width of the neck plus 0.6 again, then you will get the length of the neck. So I'm going to give it a nice curve. Take note. Now the next thing I'm going to do now is the shoulder or the back measurement. Our back measurement is 17. 17, that is when you divide 17 by 2, that is 8.5. Take note, 8.5. Then I'm going to add ½ inch for sewing allowance. That will be 9 inch. I mark 9 inch. So the next thing I'm going to do is to connect from the neckline, this is our neckline, down to our shoulder line. So I have done that already. So the next thing I'm going to do now is the chest line. How can I get the chest line? To get the chest line is very simple. The formula for the chest line is chest divided by 4 minus 3. Chest divided by 4 minus 3. Then we will get our chest line. That 3 is going to rest on the back panel. That 3 inch that you remove is going to rest on the back panel. So now, don't forget this. Chest divided by 4 minus 3. Chest divided by 4 minus 3 will give you our chest line. So my chest is 42. 42 divided by 4 minus 3, which is 7.5. So in this case, I'm going to measure from my shoulder line downward 7.5, and that will be my chest line. 7.5. That will give me my chest line. So this is my chest line. So the next thing I'm going to do now, here I'm going to apply the same back measurement on this chest line so that I can connect them together equally. I have 9 here. I will do the same thing here, 9 inch. So now I'm going to connect them together now so that I can take my deepness. So the deepness of the front panel is going to be 1 inch. 1 inch deepness. So I'm going to take the deepness now. This is the deepness of the front panel. Now I'm done with that. The next thing I'm going to do on my chest line is to apply my main chest measurement. So to do that, you divide your chest by 4. Then whatever you have, that is what you are going to use on the chest line. 42 divided by 4 equal to 10.5. Then that 10.5, you are going to add 1 inch for sewing allowance. Then 1 inch for sewing allowance. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to use my free hand to do the armhole curve. Take note, when taking the armhole curve, it will go along with the deepness of the front panel as shown. This is how to do it. So the next thing I'm going to do now is my hip line and my belly line. See, let me tell you this. This shirt or this senator top is going to have an inner side pocket. Inner side pocket. So the way we are going to do this one will be different from the regular or the senator top that have no side pocket. So to do that is very simple. I'm going to measure from my chest line downward 15 inch. 15 inch. This is for an adult. We can also use 14 inch. But in this case, I'm going to be using 15 inch. Then half of 15 inch is 7.5. That will be our belly line. But for the 15 inch, that will be our hip line. So in this case, I'm going to apply my hip measurement on the where I marked 15. My hip measurement is 44. I'm going to divide 44 by 4. That is 11 inch. Then add 1 inch for sewing allowance. Now for the belly line, my belly is 44 also. Measure 11 when you divide 44 by 4. Then add 1 inch for sewing allowance. So what we are going to do next is to connect all these points together up to our chest line. So like I said earlier, this senator top is going to have a inner side pocket. So in this case, we are going to measure from the chest line downward 4 inch. Then from that 4 inch point you are going to mark 7 inch. That 7 inch will represent the opening of the side pocket. Then you are going to mark from that point of 7 inch downwards 6 inch, and that will be for the inner side pocket accommodation. And that is exactly where the slit or the opening of this senator top is going to start from, so that the inner side pocket will not show outside whenever the person wears the shirt or the senator top. So it's as simple as that. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to do the cutting. So what you are going to do now, you are going to give a notch to the to each point that you marked here. This is the 4 inch point I marked. Give it a notch. Then the 7 inch I marked, and that is the 2 notch you need. So the next thing I'm going to do now is how to cut the back panel of the shirt or of the top. So to cut the back panel, this is the back panel we dropped or we removed from the 2 material that time. So I'm going to fold it over again with the wrong side facing you. Make sure that the wrong side is facing you. Then you are going to place your front panel on the back panel like this. Place your front panel on the back panel. So now I've already placed my front panel on the back panel. So I'm going to trim along this line here. Can you see it very well? I'm going to trim along it. So I've already done that. So I'm going to bring this front panel down by drawing it down. Then and the rise or the back rise of this setup is going to be 4 inch. Yeah, it should be 4 inch. You can use 3.5 inch or 3 inch, but I choose to use 4 inch recommendably. So I have my 4 inch already. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to fold this back panel over this front panel and leaving like an half inch here for the sewing allowance. Half of an inch for the sewing allowance. So I've already done the folding over. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to trace the back panel from the back panel neck from the front panel. Hope you are seeing it clearly. Trace it as shown from the front panel to the back panel as shown. So I'm going to do the cutting now. So I've already done that. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to measure the shoulder or the slant of this front panel and apply that measurement on the slant of the back panel so that they will be equal. Take note of that. Here I have 6 3/4. So I'll do the same thing, 6 3/4 on the back panel also. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut along this front panel from the back panel by doing this, and I'm using my chalk to do it. And don't forget to leave allowance at the back panel so that the top will not be dragging the person that is going to wear the top. The shirt will be very free. Leave like an half-inch allowance, yes, half-inch allowance at the back panel from the front panel. So I'm going to do the cutting now. So I'm already done with the cutting, and we have our center top. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out the cutting allowance that we added that time. I'm going to cut it out from the lower part of the shirt or the top. So we are done with this. So the next thing we are going to cut now is the sleeve, and I'm going to show you how to cut the sleeve of this top with the calculation needed. Action. So guys, the most important thing about the sleeve cutting is this. When you are cutting a sleeve, you don't just take the anyhow wideness that you wish. You use the chest measurement to get the wideness of your sleeve before you cut it. So to get the wideness of the sleeve is very simple. Your chest measurement, you are going to use it to get the wideness. You divide the chest by 4, then you add 2 inch to your result. For example, the chest measurement here is 42. So 42 divided by 4 plus 2 is equal to 12.5. 12.5. Don't forget this. Always add 2 inch to your your chest when you divide it by 4. Always add 2 inch. It's very, very important. It's very important. Don't forget that, please. So now the wideness of the material that I'm going to be using, as in the wideness of it now when it is being folded, is 12.5. It should not be less than 12.5, but it can be more than 12.5. Take note. It should not be less than 12.5, but it can be more than 12.5. So in this case, I'm using 12 3/4. So the difference is a quarter. So now this is going to be the lower part of the sleeve, and this is going to be the upper part of the sleeve, where the folded part. So this way that is not folded is the lower part of the sleeve. So now the lower part of the sleeve, I'm going to shorten it. You are going to measure 4.5 inch. Don't forget 4.5 inch here. Then also the upper part, measure 4.5 inch. Then you are going to use your ruler to rule the line. Rule the line as shown. So what you are going to do now, you are going to divide it diagonally from this lower part up to this upper part as shown. Make sure you do the division like this, please. This is how you are going to do the division. Then after that, you are going to divide this sleeve into 2. And to do the division, you don't need to use you can just use your tape. You fold your tape over like this, then you get half of it. Then also roll the line to get the half. Now you have 2 boxes now, the first box and second box. You are going to divide each of the box into 2 again, into smaller parts. So in this case, here is how it is done. We are going to divide it into 2. We have this box already. Here, that is the division. Then also here is the half of this very box. So now please take note of this. We are going to, for the upper part, we are going to mark half of inch from this point here outward, half inch from here outward, and for the lower part mark half inch inward, half inch inward when doing the marking. Now I'm going to mark half inch outward from where I marked. Now for this part you are going to mark half inch inward. Please don't forget, for the upper part half inch outward, for the lower part half inch inward. So the next thing we are going to do now is to connect from here, passing through the intersection, point of intersection, or the junction where many points meet. So we are going to pass through that point down to the lower part. So this is how to cut your sleeve perfectly. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to do the cutting. Do the cutting of the sleeve. So this is how it is done. So the next thing we are going to do now, give it a notch please. The next thing we are going to do now is how to get our muzzle and how to get our lower muzzle. To do that, this thing is very important so that your sleeve will not be extra large. It will fit perfectly your customer. There will not be any error at all. So to get your muzzle ranges from 10 inch to 9 inch to 8 inch for adult, and for children you can use 6, 5 and 4. It's fine. But advisably always take the muzzle measurement from the shoulder measurement, so that you won't be using your head thinking about what the muzzle of that person will be. So in my own case, the muzzle of my clients here is 10 inch. So that point of 10 inch, I'm going to apply my muzzle measurement. My muzzle measurement is 14. So the muzzle of my client is 14. I'll measure 7. You are going to divide 14 by 2. That is 7. Then add 1 inch for sewing allowance. Then from that point, you are going to use your ruler. You can either use your ruler or your free hand to connect from this point down to the lower part of the sleeve. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So here is it. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to take my full measurement, my full sleeve measurement. Now the sleeve length is 25. Then I'm going to add 1 inch for sewing allowance. That is 1 inch for sewing allowance of attachment of the sleeve to the shirt and attachment of the sleeve to the cuff, because this sleeve is going to have a cuff. So in this case, that's why I added 1 inch. That 1 inch is for sewing allowance. Then that will be equal to 26 inch. Now I'm going to remove 3 inch from this 26 for the cuff, because the wideness of the cuff that I'm going to be using is 3 inch. Now, so the total measurement here now will be 3. So I'm going to mark 3 inch here. That will be my total sleeve. When the cuff join it will become 26, and that 26 there is half inch sewing allowance, and the total sleeve will become 25, which is the original one. So here is it. So this is the total length. Then from this point of the total length, but before that let me roll the line so that you can see very well. From this point, what I'm going to do now is to take my lower muzzle. So the lower muzzle it ranges between 6 and 7 or 8, but in this case I'm going to be using 7 inch. Use 7 inch for adults, please. Now on this lower muzzle point, you are going to apply your lower muzzle measurement. So the way I do it is that when my muzzle is 14, my lower muzzle is 13. When my muzzle is 15, my lower muzzle is 14. When my main muzzle is 16, my lower muzzle is 15. The difference is only 1. So in this case, the muzzle is 14, so lower muzzle will be 13. And when I divide 13 by 2, that is 6.5. So in this case, my lower muzzle is going to be 6.5. Please take note of this. It's very, very important. Now, the next thing I'm going to do now is the wrist of my client. The wrist of my client is 8 inch. Then you are going to add 1 inch for what? For curve links for links. That is where you are going to put the links. So when now here, what you are going to do here now, so our risk now, total risk now is going to be 9. So in this case, when you divide 9 by 2, that is 4.5. 4.5. Then I'm going to add gator or dart. There's going to be dart here. So the dart I'm going to be using will be, I'm going to be using 1/3 for the dart, 1/3 for the dart, and for the sewing allowance, just add 1/3, please. 1/3/4. 1.3/4. This is for the sewing allowance and the dart of the sleeve, and the dart of my sleeve is 3/4. So the dart of my sleeve is 3/4, while the sewing allowance is 1. So the wideness of the dart of my sleeve is 3/4, so that the person will feel comfortable whenever he wear the shirt. It will not be too tight and it will not be too loose. Don't forget this 4.5 the wrist plus 3/4 inch. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to do the connection of all the points I marked. Do the connection perfectly, please. So we have our sleeve. So the next thing now is the sleeve opening, or the sleeve where the sleeve placket is going to be. So for you to do that, when you mark 4.5, you are going to mark 1.5 upward. That's from here upward. You are going to mark 1.5. Yes, this is where our placket opening of the sleeve is going to be. As simple as this. So what I'm going to do now is to do the cutting. So we have our sleeve. So now the length of the placket, sleeve placket, will be 4 inch. It can be less than that, it is fine. You can use 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 is okay for me, and you can use 4 inch. So make sure you are cutting only the upper part and don't cut the lower part, please. So I have it. So we are going to do a signal for a wrong side and the right side of this sleeve. This is the wrong side, this is the wrong side also, so that you won't make any mistake. And we are done with the sleeve. So the next thing we are going to do now is the components, the thing we need to finish the shirt, that the placket, the pocket, and the piping. That is what we need now, and the side pocket. So guys, this is the making of the placket that I'm talking about. So what I did here, I'm going to show you exactly what I did here. So these are the material that I cut out. The wideness of this material here is 3 inch. So this material is 3 inch or 3.5 inch, and this one is also 3 inch. So what I did here is that I joined these two materials together with a sewing allowance to be half of an inch. That is what I did here. After I do the sewing, what I did next is to open it together and iron it down. I iron it down. This is exactly what I did here. So I iron it down by separating the two sewing stitches from each other. That is what I did here. Currently, the wideness of each of this color of this material is 2 inch. So what I'm going to do now is very simple. Let me show you some of the things that I have so far. This is my cuff. This is the cuff I'm going to be using for this shirt. The cuff is 9 inch wide, 9 inch long rather, and 3 inch wide. Hope you can see it clearly. Now this is the second cuff, and this is the pocket that I'm going to be using. This pocket is 5 inch long. This pocket is 5 inch long and 4.75 wide. 4.75 wide. And this is the main placket that I'm going to be using. This placket that you are seeing here, the length of this placket is 15 inch. 15 inch. That is the length of the placket. So I'm going to show you how to make this placket. So guys, this is the main material I'm going to be working on. So the first thing you are going to do, you are going to gum this your fabric on, your gum on your fabrics, on your material like this. You are going to do the gumming like this action. So guys, I've already done the gumming. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to fold over this material, over the gum, up to this point. But you are not going to fold this one over it. You are going to leave it like this. Action. So guys, I've already done the folding of the placket by leaving this place outside. Just change this. Here is how to place it. Put your hemming gum under this placket, then place it down. Then what you are going to do now is to gum it down. You are going to gum this thing on this designer fabrics under it, or our intended designer fabrics, or the material we're going to be using for the design action. So guys, I've already gum it down. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to try to fold in this side and this side. So you know, this place is not useful anymore. So this is where the thing is not useful anymore. What I'm going to do now is to cut it out. Cut this part out. So the first thing you are going to do, you are going to carefully fold it inside with a little of this material under this placket is showing. This is the little material I'm talking about. You are going to maintain it like this. Hope you can see. Then you are going to do the same thing on this other side. Hope you can see it. You maintain that shape. Make sure that it come out a little bit, please. Don't forget this. So the next thing you are going to do after that, you are going to iron it down. Iron it down perfectly. Iron it now and use your cooler to keep it down perfectly. So the next thing I'm going to do now, guys, is to do the same thing that I did here on this other side. So I'm going to fold it in, but before that, let me remove the excess material here. I'm going to cut out this excess material here before I do that. So I've already cut the excess material. So I'm going to fold it in and use my iron to iron it down. So guys, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to iron it out. Hopefully you can see the coming out of that designer fabric a little bit. Hopefully you can see that is how it is done. So I'm going to iron it down now. Iron it down carefully. Action. So guys, I've already ironed it down. You can see the coming out of that thing at the side of it. You can see how tiny the thing is. So we are going to do the same thing on this other side also. So by folding it in, then I'm going to iron it down also. Action. So guys, I've already done the same thing at the two sides of the flap. So what I'm going to do now is to remove all these excess fabrics, this excess material at this other side. You can see how it is. So what I'm going to do now is to remove those material. When I'm done with it, I'll show you. So guys, this is the final look of our placket. You can see how nice the thing is. Let me take it a little bit very close. Yes, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to fold over this part. You know, I've not done anything to this place. I'm going to fold this one in, fold it in like this to have a complete piping. So the way to do it is this. I'm going to fold it over like this and like this. Then we are going to have a complete piping. But guys, before that, so I'm going to tell you something. Before you do that, we are, you know, we are there's going to be, we are going to sew along the one that is at the top. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to sew along this point here, sew along it, so that it will keep this down material, so that it will keep it very down. And I'll do the same thing on this other side. So guys, I'm going to do that on my sewing machine and show you. Hey guys, I already have my pipe and my placket. So this is the placket. So what I'm going to do now is the gumming of the pocket, and the pocket and the cuffs. There's the pocket and the cuff. Then also we also need this piping, the background of the piping. We also need this material to do so. I'm going to show you how to do that now. This is the background of the piping that I'm going to be using. So the wideness of this material here is 1/2 inch. This is the piping, and it is being cut like a bias. You are going to cut it like a bias. So this is the background of it. I'm going to do the cutting now. Action. So this is the piping I'm going to be using. Action. So guys, this is the main piping. I want to cut the main piping now. The wideness of this piping is going to be 1.5 inch wide. 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. So I'm going to cut it off now. Make sure the piping is 1.5. Then it should be maybe 3 inches or to 4 inches longer than the neck of your shirt, of the top. My neck is 17, so I may choose to cut by 21 inch long piping, or to make use of 21 inch long piping. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put my hemming gum at the middle of the piping. Then I'm going to fold the material over it. This is my hemming gum. It's already at the middle of my piping. Then I'm going to fold it over like this to cover the hemming gum. So do that quickly. So guys, I've already done that. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to fold from here to the other side. Hopefully you can see it. Fold from here to this other side like this, and the wideness of it should be 1/2 inch or less than. Let me check. Yeah, this is 1/2 inch. This is half inch wide. So I'm going to iron it down as shown. Make sure you iron it down perfectly. Action. So guys, my piping is ready. So what I'm going to do now concerning the background, this is the material I chose for the background of my piping. So I'm going to insert the background of the piping inside my piping. Then I will go to my sewing machine and sew along this part here by leaving some, as in the material should come out slightly. This is what I'm going to do on my sewing machine now. When I'm done, I will show you. So guys, this is the final look of what I'm talking about. You can see how I did the sewing, and this is how the inside look like. So I have my piping already. When I'm attaching it to the shirt, it's going to be like this. This one is going to be at the top, and this is going to be under it. This one under, and this one is going to be at the top. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do now is to do the gumming of the cuff, and I'm going to show you how to do the okay. Hey guys, I've already joined the neck, or the front panel and the back panel already. This is the yoke. Hopefully you can see the yoke, and this is the neck. So this is the shoulder. You can see how the shoulder look like, and this is the neck. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut out the center of this by 8 inch, and then attach the piping and the placket, but I'm going to show you how to do that. So guys, here is the neck. I've already trimmed the neck to my desired length. The neck of this client is 17, but this neck here is 18, because when I do the piping, the neck is going to be reduced by 1 inch. That is what I experienced. So if the neck of a client is 17, you are going to trim your neck to become 18, meaning you are going to add 1 inch, so that when you done the piping, or when you are done with the piping, the neck will be reduced by 1 and it will come to the original neck that you are looking for. And for this, from here to here is 8. So I'm going to cut here in order for me to be able to fix the placket and the small placket. So I'm going to cut it out now. So now I want to show you how to attach the piping now. So if you want to attach the piping, it is very simple. Here is how you are going to do it. Look at the piping. You are going to hold the piping like this. Then you are going to put this one under this shirt. Then this one is going to be at the top. So this is how to do it. And you are going to sew it round. You can I'm going to run like 5 stitches on this piping. You can run 2 stitch, 3 stitch, or even 1 stitch. So I'm going to be running 5 stitches on this piping action. So guys, I've already done the piping. So this is how it looks. So what I'm going to do now is the attachment of the short placket and the long placket. So when you are attaching the long placket, here is how to do it. So you are going to grab this point here, grab this area, then you are going to put it under this senator top. I'm going to put it under it like this, and I'm going to sew it from the inside. Sew it from here. Sew it from here. Then now turn it outside in this form, and it's going to be like this. So guys, when I'm done with this, I'm going to show you guys when I'm done. You can see how it is. This is how it's going to be on the shirt. So when I'm done, I'm going to show you action. So guys, I'm already done with the attachment of the placket and the pocket also, and this is the final look of the placket. This is how it looks. Let's take it a little bit close. You can see how it is. This is the final look of it, and this is the neck, the piping, and everything you need to know. So guys, what is left now is the attachment of the sleeve and the joining and the finishing, and that is all.